Welcome to today's episode of Insights with Us. I'm Anastasia, a licensed professional counselor, owner of Happy Mind Wellness Company, a Colorado-based therapy practice, and creator of this podcast. My goal is to use this platform to help others find their voice as we share our journeys and show support as we learn more about ourselves and life. Growth happens when we get uncomfortable, which happens when we sit with new ideas we haven't sat with before. I hope that we can work on this journey of personal growth and understanding together. As a disclaimer, there may be swearing occasionally in this podcast, but sometimes we get caught up in the human experience. It happens. And sometimes we can talk about difficult or activating topics. So maybe put on some headphones if you need to, and remember that support exists for you if you want it. Today, I want to talk about authenticity. What it means to be authentic in your life, whether you are alone or surrounded by others. This can be a tricky concept, and one that takes a lot of practice with boundary setting and flexibility. So let's get curious and see if we can build some insight today. Several people I know, myself included, have struggled with how to show up in different settings. In one of my last guest episodes, I opened up about how I used to put on a mask and pretend to be this outgoing, extroverted person. And then the second I got home, I would crash and burn from pushing myself too hard. I still use that outgoing energy from time to time, but I no longer try to convince myself that I have to be an extrovert to be loved and accepted in this world. I still confuse people with that sometimes. How can I be dancing in the middle of the crowd or laughing up a storm at a party one minute and then hiding in the corner or disappearing early to go home the next? The answer is, I am authentic to my experience and what I want, from minute to minute and day to day, rather than trying to be one constant energy no matter what. I don't ask myself, who am I all the time? Who is my authentic self? And there's only one answer. It's, who am I right now? How am I feeling in this moment? There are different ways to view authenticity. And the two that I want to explicitly talk about today are aggressive authenticity and compassionate authenticity. If someone has been pushed to their limits or made to feel bad for who they are, sometimes the armor comes out and you're going to push back. I have definitely done this before, but in the long term, it's not me. Aggressive authenticity can look like, well, I am who I am. I don't care if it upsets you. Or, I'm not trying to be rude, I'm just trying to be honest. There is a time and a place for aggressive authenticity. If someone is being disrespectful of your space or energy, sometimes you need to put that armor up. Because if they don't accept you, then you don't necessarily need them in your life or in that situation. And that's always going to be true. If someone is telling you, no, you can't be like that, you have to be like this, it is okay to put armor up and be like, but I am like that, so you have to deal with it. The struggle is aggressive authenticity, if you do it all of the time, no matter what, can end up pushing people away instead of building stronger connections. This is because if you are only ever authentic with your armor on, then you're not leaving space for those around you to be their authentic selves too. There's no flexibility. There's no push and pull within it and understanding of where both of you are at. We are all different people with different perspectives, needs, and ideas about how to show up best in a situation. Just because I want to show up and have a good time and then leave before I get overstimulated doesn't mean everyone else has to leave the party by 9:30. Someone else might benefit from staying till midnight. And another might benefit from staying home and curling up with a good book. The goal is to be your authentic self while also holding space for who your friends are too. If you haven't figured it out by now, I am an empathetic and caring person. I am good at what I do because I have always been able to pause and wonder what the other side's perspective is. I never think, well, this is true for me, so it has to be true for you too. But my challenge is that sometimes I am so focused on others' perspectives that I forget to stay true to my own. And I have spent years trying to strengthen my inner voice and find ways to stay true to myself no matter the environment. A big part of staying true to myself is continuing to be empathetic or compassionate, even if what I want is different from what you want. I try to hear the other person's needs, but don't back down on my own, unless I'm in the headspace to do so. But again, I need to emphasize that this is not easy. And I do fall back into old patterns and lose the ability to hear my voice, or don't even realize that I'm just doing what others want, even if I don't want to do it. And there are times that I'm aware that I'm people pleasing, but I can't seem to break the habit because the guilt of saying no feels too strong. And then there's this conflict within me of like, but you know you don't want to. Yeah, but I need to. These are human moments. It's okay for me to have them. It's okay for you to have them. As long as once we notice it's happening, we give ourselves some love, permission to slow down, and try to find a way back to ourselves. So let me throw some examples out there. Let's say I want to go home early and enjoy a movie on the couch, but you want to stay out late and enjoy the social scene. Well, maybe we should take 2 cars so that we can both leave whenever we want to. Let's say you want to eat a home-cooked meal, but neither of us feel like cooking. Well, you're either going to find something easy to make or we're ordering in because I'm not cooking today, just because you want me to. Let's say I want to take my dog Juliet for a long walk and I don't want to go alone, but you've been on your feet all day. Well, I can see if a different friend wants to join me and you can just go home and relax. What if we both want to watch a movie, but you want to watch an action movie and I want to watch a chick flick? Well, maybe we can find a action comedy instead of a full-on action. That way it's a little lighter for me. Or maybe we just do our separate things and watch separate movies tonight. Compassionate authenticity is knowing where your boundary is while simultaneously trying to understand the boundary of the person that you're talking to. Once you do that, you can see whether or not they're respecting your boundary. And that's where you can be a little bit more strict. Maybe put some armor up if they're like, well, no, but I want this, so you have to do that. Well, no, I don't. Another example, if someone wants to drink, but you don't want to, and they're trying to convince you that it won't be fun for them unless you drink, they just put their happiness in your hands, which isn't yours to hold. Maybe it's time to remind them that drinking tonight isn't for you. And if that means they won't have a good time, that's their choice, but you're going to have a good time not drinking. If they push you on it, that's when you can throw out well, this is who I am. If you don't like it, you can leave. Or just leave and let them sort it out. If you struggle with that, you could try to be curious. What is it about drinking alone that makes it hard for you to have fun? If you don't want to drink alone, why don't we have a fun sober night tonight? You could join me. You could give them other options. And again, if they will not listen to that, if they cannot respect that boundary, it's okay for you to walk away in that moment. Doesn't mean that you're kicking them out of your life, but it also doesn't necessarily mean that you have to stay in theirs just because. There's flexibility and choices there. You're never stuck. Compassionate authenticity is saying, I am going to be myself and I want you to be yourself. But I don't want you to tell me who I need to be. I want to accept you, and I need you to accept me as well. So now that we've talked about the different ways to be authentic, I know a next question that might be thrown out there, might be in your heads, which is, how do I even know what is authentic for me? The easy but hard answer is you need to understand what kind of person you want to be. What makes you feel most like yourself? And the best way to do this is to explore your values. or to explore different activities and different choices and see what feels right. You can start learning what drives you in life. What do you want to be about? What are your hopes for yourself? Some of my top values include acceptance, genuineness, honesty, friendship, mindfulness, fun, knowledge, purpose, kindness, and inner peace. What does that even mean? That means that any choice I make in my life, I try to make in relation to these values, not from a place of fear or anxiety. Sometimes anxiety does win, but living by my values doesn't mean I do it once, check the box, and move on. It is a constant shift towards my values so that over time, I build the life that I want. And again, you might not even know what your values are. You might not even know what feels right and what doesn't feel right for you. At which point, go try different things. Say yes to some stuff, say no to some stuff, and see which one helps you feel most like you. When I'm talking to someone who seems vastly different from me, I can make assumptions and decide who they are based on what they look like or their initial impression. Or I can live by my values of acceptance, kindness, knowledge, and friendship, and give that person space to show me who they are and work to discover if we have common ground or if we really are different people and would benefit from finding different friends to spend our time with. I typically give people several chances to show up, to show me that they can meet me in my space. But if over and over again, I'm shut down or taught that I can't trust them, or they judge me for showing up how I show up and make me feel guilty for that, eventually I'm going to stop wanting to be myself around them. And then they're not going to be somebody that I spend time with if I want to be myself, if I want to be with trusted friends or chosen family. They're not on the list. And that's okay. I'm sure I'm not on some people's lists. They're not going to call me. And that's okay, because I want them to be with the people that make them feel safe. If I am running around putting on my extrovert mask and doing everything that others want of me, slowly burning the candle at both ends, trying to pretend I'm not exhausted, then I'm not really living by my values of genuineness, honesty, mindfulness, and inner peace. And if I'm trying to do that, this means that even if I do want to go out and have fun with my friends, if I am exhausted and burned out, I will cancel my plans. I will tell my friends that I love them and remind them that I'm here for them, even though I need to be home with me more right now. My circle understands this need. They all accept me for who I am, and they will continue to go out and adventure and climb and camp, even if I can't or don't want to be there right now. And that is me accepting them for who they are. They don't have to cancel their plans just because I need a night alone. If we are living by our values and not living by our fear and trying to avoid pain, then it is easier to know who is for us and who is not. It is easier to choose when to be vulnerable and let someone in and when to hold back, because both are okay. And it's your choice how these options show up in your life. With one of my safe people, I can cry with them for as long as I need to. I can be silly and goofy and make weird movements because I just feel like letting my inner child out. And with people that are not safe, I'm much more reserved. I don't share as much information. I'm a lot more vague with my answers. And both scenarios are me being authentic to who I am. So the next time that you catch yourself wanting to stay home, but feeling like you have to go out, or you're stuck at home and you'd rather be on an adventure somewhere, use that discomfort and internal conflict as a cue to check in with what value is guiding you. What feels true to you in that moment? And how can you be just a little more open to who you want to be? Hopefully, something we talked about today resonated with you. If it did, let yourself sit with that idea for a little while longer. If you have any questions for this podcast or any themes you'd like us to focus on in the future, send us a message on Instagram at Insights With Us Podcast, or send us an email at insightswithus@gmail.com. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to hear more, please follow, like, or subscribe. If you want to support the continuation of this podcast, you can donate. To do so, visit my website and donate on Podbean's Patron program, or find me, Anastasia Soroka, on buymeacoffee.com. I appreciate you, and I appreciate that you are listening. Thank you for creating insight with us.